Okay. Welcome into Beyond Live Podcast. Let that creepy music continue for a little while. Anyways. All right. Welcome in. Hope everybody's having a good day. I'm ready to get into our next scary place. This one's actually a tavern, hotel, or it's an old tavern where people stayed and played and drank and stuff like that. It used to be an old house. I'll give you a little bit of history on it. Let's see. It was built in 1814 by Abner Gaines. Built on the old LEDGEN Pike in Walton, Kentucky. It's actually built between two railroads. It's the oldest house in Walton. The location was a home as a tavern. Whatever. We're not going to get too far into it. Abner Gaines came to town, became Boone County Sheriff or Justice. Following year, purchased this tavern in 1815. Walton, at the time, was being known as the Gaines Crossroads. Gaines then began the first stagecoach line between Cincinnati, Ohio, and Lexington, Kentucky, which that's how he conducted business through his this tavern. Still can't talk. Either way, I'm gonna get you. This was a feature on Ghost Hunters, and that's the episode I'm going to be covering. When they get into it, they talk about a way that Albert Gaines did pass away in the home. His daughter says that his daughter at 5 years old also passed away. They had a ballroom there. Someone was stabbed. Two guys were in a scuffle. Looked like it was over a woman. It was a love triangle, and the one guy didn't like the other guy messing with the one girl, so he stabbed her. People in the house keep seeing the little girl. Like one of the incidents was when the housekeepers was vacuuming, and she's vacuuming. She sees a little girl, and then she goes to the owner and says, how old is the little girl that lives here? And they're like, what little girl? And the other one mistook the little girl for her own daughter, which wasn't even in the same room, or it was on the other side of the room. Let's see. Objects gets moved around and doors being slammed shut. They hear voices, footsteps. One voice that said, get out. People in the upstairs window, they always sometimes sees an old man. Sometimes they see an old man with a little girl. There is one room where 4 people took their lives. That's why they call that the suicide room. And there's actually, I think they said up to 9 people has died on or around this property. There's a lot of stuff that's happening here. A lot of death. And this house has seen through the Civil War and stuff too. So this has been around a long time. Seen a lot of shit. I'm sure there's stories about with the war and stuff. Other than that, let's get into the investigation. Night 1. So there's ghost hunters. Oh, I think I was going to. Before we get into night 1, I'm going to talk. I'll save it for afterwards. Night 1. Jay and Steve are the two main guys. They go up. They're on floor 1. Oh, excuse me. They're on floor 1. They're doing EVP, and they hear a female voice from the upstairs. They go upstairs to investigate and stuff, and they hear that woman's voice again, walking around. Or it doesn't hear the voice walking around, but they hear the voice and they heard walking around. So that's interesting. That's and then they're talking, doing thing. They said, "Do you know an Abner Gaines?" And then they heard the female voice again. They don't usually specify right away what the voices say until later in the review. Dave Tango, and Sherry, they're on the second floor. They're using a REM pod. They're not really getting much. And then Steve's in the van watching Cam 1, and he sees a shadow in the front room in one of the cameras. They check that out. They try to debunk it. They can't really debunk it. They can't figure out. I mean, they definitely caught a shadow on video. Back to the second floor with Tango and Sherry. They get a voice. They get a voice, and then along with the voice, they hear some drumming or some tapping or something, and then there's a large yell. That was night 1. After that, they didn't really get a lot. They were kind of, after that, the things died down, and then they went back to the van and they discussed it, and they decided to do some research for tomorrow. On the research, they said they met with a historian where they, the historian had a couple names for them. Ben Runyon. He was probably one of the ones in the suicide room. He shot himself and killed himself. No one knows why. No one knows. Just whatever. Then the mayor, former mayor of this town, John Goodson, was having a hard time with his life. He was just down on his luck, down on everything. He was in the tavern playing a card game, and when he was done, when he was all out and he was lost, he went upstairs and shot himself to death. Just like that. And then there was a female they found out that there was a female that died on this property. The female's name was Lizzie Rice. And this woman was tired of her life. She wanted to die, and she covered herself with oil and lit herself on fire. Died a gruesome death. That's a crazy story. I mean, can you imagine dousing yourself in oil and lighting it on fire? That's called a slow burn. I can't imagine trying to hurt myself at all like that. That's just crazy. That's where you remind yourself you need to go talk to your counselor. Everybody needs some help every once in a while. Okay, night 2. Dave and Steve are trying to talk to Lizzie Rice. And as they were trying to talk to him, they get an EVP of a possible giggle. And let's see. And in the suicide room, they went ahead and I think it was Dave, or it was Dave and yeah, it was Dave and Steve. Dave brought in some spoons, or Steve brought in some spoons, because the night before they heard possible, they were thinking they were spoons instead of a drum or anything like that. And then they're not really getting anything, you know. Then the next day, during the day, they decide to do a day investigation upstairs using REM pod. And then the REM pod goes off for no reason. They're like, "Is there anyone here?" Pod goes off. They talk about suicide. Pod goes off. They try talking names. Nothing. Now, nighttime. They're sitting down in the parlor, and they're trying to talk to Mayor Goodson. Mayor Goodson, they have a deck of cards, hopefully with a trigger. They're kind of getting nothing. They go to the kitchen. They heard walking, then a voice. Then they heard another one, a voice that sounded like, "Hey, Jason." Jason being one of the investigators, that definitely creeps you out. Definitely. They're talking to his name. I mean, of course, they introduce themselves when they come into the room. They're introducing themselves to try to get them to talk to him, and then they give him his name. So they go back to the parlor, talking to him to get a response. Sherry sees a shadow from outside. Evaluate. And that's pretty much all they got. Then they evaluate. They think it's Lizzie, that the female voice they're hearing on the first floor. The black mass that moves across the front of the house. Yeah, it was just, and they think that might be her too. And they confirmed that the spoons on the EVP were the spoons, that someone was playing spoons upstairs. The giggle, they kind of think that it's Harriet Gaines is the giggle, and that's upstairs, the little girl. And on the main floor of the EVP, they got that says, "They're watching us." So something was definitely watching them, and that they're trying to call them. And then you got the upstairs voice. It said, "Hey, Jason." Yep, that was the reveal. There's nothing benevolent or evil going on in this house. And once again, it's taking no time whatsoever off the clock. So I'm doing these reports. I'm taking notes. I'm doing my best to give you guys a full story. I'm having trouble filling the time. That last episode I did pretty good. I will keep looking for the best reports, the best shows to do. Next one I've got coming up is of Ghost Brothers. We're going to talk about, I am going to talk about something now, some personal experience, before I get to the urban legend or crazy street. I'm really starting to think that my apartment is a little haunted. I've always thought before, our fire alarms always go off at the really weirdest time, in the middle of the night, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's no smoke, there's nothing, nobody's awake. It just goes off like beep, beep, beep. And sometimes it's not even the complete succession. Sometimes it's beep, beep, and then stops. Like something's controlling it or something's. Yeah. So, and spirits can control electronical things, make things go off, and stuff like that. There's new batteries in these things, so. And the other day, I'm feeling it too. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, I'll get back to that. So the other day, I'm in the kitchen, and one of the cabinets is open, and I'm one that likes to close the cabinet. So, but I left this one open, and I'm doing stuff, and I think I was getting more stuff out of it. And so I turn around, and out of the corner of my eyes, the door, it just shuts on its own. It shut on its own. That's crazy. So, and then just literally today, I think it was today, either today or yesterday, I'm sitting on the bed, getting dressed, and you know that feeling when someone sits down on the bed next to you, the bed compresses and it moves a little bit. Well, that happened and nobody was there. That's crazy. I'm feeling weird. There is a spirit or something in our house. I mean, I don't, and I know for sure, I'm pretty sure it's not evil or anything. It could be residual too. Residual hauntings do that. It could be an intelligent one too. I don't know. And I am not going to mess around by investigating it myself. I could, but I have kids that live here. We have to all live here. I don't want to drudge up some craziness unless there's a way I can do it without drudging up craziness. I might have to look into that. But enough about my hauntings. I'm going to continue to share when I get them because I don't think they're going to stop. They're just too easy to. So I'm going to get to the next one. This one's called the urban legend. It's called Boy Scout Lane. Boy Scout Lane is an isolated road located in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. A number of ghost stories and urban legends has become associated with this road, including the fictional deaths of a troop of Boy Scouts. The area has been subject to several paranormal investigations and has been a haunt for youth hoping to experience paranormal event. The lands surrounding Boy Scout Lane is now privately owned and is off limits to the general public. Okay. So we got a Boy Scout Lane, the land where deaths of a truth with Boy Scouts. Or the urban Boy Scout Lane, town of Linwood, located west of the Wisconsin River Gulf. I don't know. The road was named Boy Scout Lane because the land that is located near once owned by the Boy Scouts of America, who planned to use this land to build a Boy Scout camp, although the camp was never construction and the land remained woodlands. And the name is still used. So, the funny thing about that is, why would you buy a land and just never construct on it? I mean, you don't use it to build a camp. You buy it to build a camp. It never got construction. You even sold the land. I mean, that just seems a little fishy to me. We'll get into the urban legend real quick. According to local urban legend, the road is named for a troop of Boy Scout kids who were killed while on a camping trip in 1950s or 60s. See, that's where it varies from the last report, what I just read. They said they bought it for camping. In some variations of the murders, the troop scoutmaster and others, it is their bus driver. In other versions of the legend, a small group of scouts leave their camp during the night and accidentally drop their lantern, resulting in the forest fire kills the entire troop. Okay. So we got a troop of Boy Scouts killed while on a camping trip on the land that's called Boy Scout Lane, which was purchased by Boy Scouts of America. That could actually be consistent. You can, Boy Scouts America, you buy this land, it's wooded land, let's camp on it, let's get the troops on there, let's camp. We don't have an actual camp, but let's camp. It's in the 60s. People went to campgrounds that were undefined before. I mean, it was a different time. So yeah, it's also a different time that possibly they could have got murdered on the same land. And that is hence why official camp for the Boy Scouts never got built. So in some variants, the murderer is the troop scoutmaster. Oh yeah, that's a good possibility too. There's a lot of crazy people out there, and a lot of crazy people in powerful positions. I mean, think about the the BTK killer. He held a position in the church before he was captured. I mean, seriously. The crazy people can get those positions because they're charismatic. And they don't care. So, and then the version of the legend where a group of Boy Scouts, they leave their camp, drop a lantern, resulting in a fire, kills the entire troop. That can happen too, but where's the records of that? You always have a record when it's forest fires. I mean, there's other variations the story exists and include in which scouts are killed after their bus crashes or accidentally catches fire. There's a combination of all three of them. I mean, there's also a version of the scouts vanish without explanations and are never found. In some versions of the legend, the two Boy Scouts escaped their fate of the rest of the troop and tried to find help only to become lost in the woods where they die of starvation and or exposure. In most variations of the legends, it is said that the dead scouts haunt the forest where they died and can be heard hiking through the undergrowth, or with their lights can be seen in the night as they seek help for their fellow scouts. Stories circulated in the haunted travel guides include visitors reporting strong sense of foreboding and being watched. That'd be creepy, going through a forest and feeling like you're being watched. That's just nuts. The sound of footsteps or breaking branches coming from multiple directions. Red and white lights, sometimes described as resembling swinging lanterns or flashlight beams, ghostly buses or figures, and a childlike handprints on cars stopped or driven through the area. That's just creepy. You drive through the area and there's child handprints on your cars. That's nuts altogether. So So, yeah, that being said, we're going to take a quick break. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I told you I'd come back. Wasn't very long. Okay, so besides the Boy Scout Road, the Boy Scout Lane, I found another one in Wisconsin, not too far. It's in Portage County in Wisconsin called the Bloody Bride Bridge. It's reported haunted by a ghost of a bride. Okay, tucked away in a Stevens Point area near Jordan Park, the bridge carries the U.S. Highway 66, a.k.a. Polish Heritage Highway. According to local legend, a bride was killed in an accident here on way to her wedding, thus given the name. Story is that the couple on their way to their wedding got into a terrible car accident, killing the bride. Not too long after her death, not too far after her death, the distraught bride began to wander back and forth on the bridge, still in her bloody wedding gown. Oh, that's horrifying. There's a little... What is up with this? There's a little picture here. I'm on the website for it. It's like driving on the bridge. I don't understand. Polish highway. I don't know what that's for, but I just wasted a bunch of time doing it. On a eerie story, the bride is said to haunt the bridge, officially known as Highway 66 Bridge, especially late at night during the winter months. Locals say that have seen the bloody strewn ghost of the bride. She appears in your backseat of your car if you dare look in the rearview mirror. Oh my God, I just got chills. So I can't imagine. Really? Is that it? That's all you got on that damn thing? Holy crap. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine driving down a highway. You look in the back seat and there's a bloody, bloody bride. I don't know. I would probably have to get home right away. Wow, it's like, that's crazy. See if I can find any more information about it. Let's see, haunted bridges. Boy Scout Lane, I don't know why. Whatever. Alright, well, I tried to give you guys more content. Here's another one. Bloody Bride Bridge. Oh, I'm definitely cutting this crap out. Highway 66 Bridge. Whether it's true or not, each person decides. I don't know. Well, that idea. So that being said, whether you believe in ghosts or not, these stories are fun. And they can freak you out a little bit too. I'm a little freaked out just after thinking about looking in the rearview mirror. But that's just the way some things work. So other than that, I think that we're going to close out the episode early. I know it's not a long one. But I'll be back next week with another one. Hopefully you guys will enjoy that one. This one we're going to be covering Delta Queen. Oh. It's an American, the Delta Queen. I'll give you a preview of it. Loud car driving away. The Delta Queen is an American steam wheel steamboat. She is known for cruising the major rivers that constitute the tributaries of the Mississippi River, particularly in the American South. Although she began service in California on the Sacramento River Delta, for which she gets her name. She was docked in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and served as a floating hotel until purchased by newly formed Delta Queen Steamboat Company. She was towed to Houma, Louisiana in March 2015 for refurbishing to her original condition. Yeah. So this was a very good episode. This one will be covered by the Ghost Brothers. We've done them before. So other than that, yeah, I will come at you guys at this later. Next week we'll be talking about the Delta Queen and the Ghost Brothers. And other than that, I guess we'll close this one out. Thank you for listening. I know it's a short one. Maybe I'll produce Delta Queen and you'll get a bonus one this week just for the shortness of this one. All right, so let me take you back. Have this creepy music in. And thank you very much for listening. I forgot my tradition. Thank you for listening to Beyond Life Paranormal Podcast. Go out with something funky. Goodbye.